This episode is sponsored in part by our friends at Vultr, spelled V-U-L-T-R, because they're all about helping save money, including on things like, vowels. So what they do is they are a cloud provider that provides surprisingly high performance cloud compute at a price that, well, sure, they claim it is better than AWS's pricing, and when they say that, they mean that it's less money. Sure, I don't dispute that. But what I find interesting is that it's predictable. They tell you in advance on a monthly basis what it's going to cost. They have a bunch of advanced networking features. They have 19 global locations and scale things elastically, not to be confused with openly, which is apparently elastic and open. They can mean the same thing sometimes. They have had over 1 million users. Deployments take less than 60 seconds across 12 pre-selected operating systems, or if you're one of those nutters like me, you can bring your own ISO and install basically any operating system you want. Starting with pricing as low as $2.50 a month for Vultr Cloud Compute, they have plans for developers and businesses of all sizes except maybe Amazon, who stubbornly insists on having something of the scale on their own. But you don't have to take my word for it with an exclusive offer for you. Sign up today for free and receive $100 in credits to kick the tires and see for yourself. Get started at vultr.com/morningbrief. That's VULTR.com/morningbrief. I've given the AWS free tier some grief in various blog posts, Twitter threads, videos, podcasts, etc. that I've put out over the years, but it occurred to me that I've never talked about why it's so important to me that I keep hammering away at it. After all, my consulting clients generally could not possibly give less of a shit about free cloud services. Their usage goes well beyond the limits of a free service. Otherwise, they'd absolutely not find value in our cloud economists optimizing their bills. That said, I maintain that fixing the free tier is the absolute highest priority that AWS can possibly have. There's nothing even remotely close that could be on its roadmap when you look at the risk of the status quo. One of the reasons that I like what I do, cloud economics, is that it's strictly a business problem. Nobody dies because of their AWS bill, and that's a great position to be in if you have a soul and are averse to doing harm. Unfortunately, there's one glaring exception. The AWS free tier is going to kill someone sooner or later, and I don't want that to happen. Now, you might think that that's a bit melodramatic, but it really isn't. Alexander Kearns was a 20-year-old Robinhood user and a student with no reported regular income. In June of 2020, he logged into his trading account, saw that he owed Robinhood $730,165, wrote a note, and killed himself. Kearns' surprise bill makes me worry about student learners using the AWS free tier and the surprise bills they might get. It's my position that it's simply a matter of time before something similar could happen in the world of cloud billing, and I vehemently do not want that to happen. We're used to surprise billing stories about someone being sloppy with credentials and compromising their account, or someone not understanding the nuances of a service they spun up and getting charges that they weren't planning for. Originally, these mistakes cost tens or hundreds of dollars. In recent years, they've climbed to the mid to high 5 figures. And I recently saw a Reddit thread about someone getting a $270,000 bill surprise. Yes, you can sit here after the fact and point out a bunch of things that someone could or should have done to prevent a bill like that, but that's cold comfort. And AWS absolutely must do better with respect to hard billing limits. There's a countervailing school of thought to hard billing limits on AWS accounts. Well, what if this is a production environment for a company? You really want the cloud provider to turn their environment off while they're having a massive surge in their business? Of course I don't. That would be ludicrous. I want AWS, a company that prides itself on how good it is at data and understanding customers, to take a step back and ask its customers a specific question at account instantiation. Do you want this account to never charge you more than X? Or do you want this account to never stop serving traffic no matter the cost? Banks, Netflix, and Twitter for Pets would all smash the "this is a business, don't be ridiculous" button. The rest of us independent learners will opt for the "I am a student, please do not destroy the next 20 years of my financial future" option. There's no way to derive the right answer to this question without asking the customer directly. Ideally, this would lead to the ability to specify the intent for a new AWS account when you're spinning it up. But again, I'd settle for it just not killing people. This episode is sponsored in parts by our friend Enterprise DB. Enterprise DB has been powering enterprise applications with PostgreSQL for 15 years. And now, Enterprise DB has you covered wherever you deploy PostgreSQL, on premises, private cloud, and they just announced a fully managed service on AWS and Azure called Big Animal, all one word. Don't leave managing your database to your cloud vendor because they're too busy launching another half dozen managed databases to focus on any one of them that they didn't build themselves. Instead, work with the experts over at Enterprise DB. They can save you time and money. They can even help you migrate legacy applications, including Oracle, to the cloud. To learn more, try Big Animal for free. Go to biganimal.com/snark and tell them Corey sent you. I want to be clear. This is not just a theoretical risk. I am convinced that it's a certainty that the Robinhood story is waiting to happen if AWS doesn't fix the way the free tier is built. Through articles like my piece on what to do when you get a giant AWS bill, tweets, and generally screaming into the void whenever the opportunity presents itself, I'm doing my best to alert people that there is in fact recourse, but there's only so much that I can do. I'm not AWS, and a fix like this has to come from the provider itself. I can't think of a more pressing need or a more worthy goal for AWS to fix. And lastly, if you need help, there are resources available to you. Crisis Text Line provides free and confidential emotional crisis support 24/7. To text with a trained listener, text HELLO to 741-741. Individuals in crisis or looking to help someone else can call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. To speak with a certified listener, call 1-800-273-8255. And if you're not in the United States, there are resources available. Please reach out.
This has been a Humble Pod production. Stay humble.